Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stover. The Great Green Wall Initiative, a Pan-African vision to green the continent from east to west, north to south, to tackle desertification, was conceived in 2005 and 2 years later evolved into an integrated ecosystem management. The impact of environmental degradation in Nigeria, especially in the northern states, was devastating, as over 2,168 square kilometers of fertile land is almost lost to desertification yearly, thereby accounting for low productivity and limited economic growth. A development that necessitated urgent intervention by the immediate past administration to formally launch the Nigerian component of the Great Green Wall program for the affected states. Now, 3 years down the line, many say the project has worked in Kebbi State, especially in the areas of provision of clean cooking stoves to rural women, to stem deforestation and even create jobs. Now, how true is this? Another school of thought is worried about the poor funding, although it said 10 billion naira was provided for the project at takeoff. But today the administration is said to be conscious of pursuing the program towards a fruitful conclusion, with plans to restructure the implementing organ and indeed the implementation process in such a methodical manner that it impacts the people, giving them a sense of belonging, security, and other means of socio-economic development. Now, what's the true picture? How well is Nigeria with the Great Green Wall Initiative in boosting agriculture for food security, creating jobs, and tackling environmental challenges? Now, these are some of the issues we've arisen tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Aisha Bello Mustafa.
Some decades ago, this expanse of land on the northern fringes of Nigeria was a flourishing savanna full of human activities. Now it is a shadow of its former self, barren and deserted, a fallout of desertification.
Desertification is defined as land degradation in arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid area caused by various factors, which include one, climatic, and secondly, human activities.
11 states in northern Nigeria are faced with the problem of desertification and other forms of environmental degradation. Put together, they account for 43% of the total land area of Nigeria, with a population of 40 million people. From the advancing sand dunes of the far northeast to the hard and rocky terrain of the northwest, the land has lost its nutrients and can no longer support plant life. About 360,000 hectares of Nigeria's land mass is being lost to the desert annually.
In deforestation, northern Nigeria is losing over $750 million. And then in desertification, we are losing $7 billion annually.
Migration by pastoralists from the north in search of greener pastures is inevitable. Such movement has always been associated with conflicts.
That's why you find the central zone is the most populated area now of Nigeria, because migration. We've got about 4 million environmental refugees in Nigeria, refugees in their own country. They are the IDPs.
Water is something that is also scarce in these areas. Worried by the ravaging effects of desertification and drought on the people of the Sahel region, Nigeria and other countries in this region of Africa have been making concerted efforts over the years to tackle these problems by developing strategies that address these peculiarities.
I'm also aware that so many conventions have been created because of this very matter of desert encroachment. We have the Nigerian Joint Commission. We have the convention in Bonn to combat desertification. We have the convention for the culture and civilization of the people of the Sahara based in Algeria. All these bodies have been doing their own different work, all to combat desertification.
This necessitated the need for an integrated regional approach to confront the challenges of desertification and its associated problems. This gave rise to the concept of the Great Green Wall of the Sahel and Sahara Initiative. It was proposed by Nigeria in 2005 and adopted by the African Union in 2007 as a Pan-African agenda that seeks to tackle the environmental scourge in a holistic manner.
Nigeria is one of 11 countries that has signified its interest to participate in the project. And it's a two-layer program. There will be activities at national level in all the 11 countries for now. And there will be continental projects which will cut across the borders of the participating countries, otherwise known as transboundary projects.
Now it's an integrated approach. It will be a project that will cut across sectors: water resources, agriculture, forestry. In that integrated manner, it will be able to deliver more than what we had earlier, where we have more of a sectoral approach in implementation of these projects.
In furtherance of this drive by the government of Nigeria to tackle the problem, a Great Green Wall Agency was established in line with the AU Great Green Wall Convention, of which Nigeria is a signatory. The implementation of the Great Green Wall project commenced in 2013 with the identification of 92 communities in 46 local government areas in the affected states. 46 other communities have been added to this, bringing the number to 138. Measures taken by the Great Green Wall Agency to achieve its goal of restoring the livelihood of the people in desert areas include establishment of shelter belts stretching from Kebbi to Borno State, promotion of dry land agricultural technology, provision of water and other social infrastructure. Others include provision of alternative sources of energy as well as development of grazing reserves.
We have drip irrigation for community to have their orchard and economic activities, and also a shelter belt, which is now the main focus of this Great Green Wall project. And at the same time, as part of our empowering the community, you can see we provide their animals some drinking water, and because water is key.
Countries like Senegal, Chad, and Mauritania commenced implementation of the Great Green Wall Initiative earlier than Nigeria and have made substantial progress in restoring degraded land. In Nigeria, 10 billion naira was approved by the previous administration, coupled with contributions from donor agencies. Experts are of the opinion that stronger partnerships, proper monitoring, community involvement and sensitization are key to realizing the goals of the Great Green Wall Initiative in Nigeria. Aisha Bello Mustafa, NTA News.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guest. We'd like to welcome to this program Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening.
All right. We're also here with the Director General of the National Agency for the Great Green Wall, Goni Ahmed. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
We also like to welcome to tonight's program Dr. Newton Jibuno, an environmentalist and founder of FADE. That's the acronym for Fight Against Desertification. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you for having me.
And also here tonight is Dr. Kabir Abdul Qadir, who's founder and national coordinator of Green Shield of Nations. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, as we always do every Tuesday, we acquaint you with the process. At the appropriate time, you can get to join in this discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We advise that you take advantage of that. However, for those who are calling in, we say this every Tuesday. When your call gets through, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV. That's the way to avoid a hurlback or an echo. So just turn down the volume of your TV. And once your name appears on screen, it means you're on. And we encourage you to go straight to the point, ask your question, make your comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings. We always say this, just go straight to the point and be brief so other people can get on the platform and be part of this program. So thank you once again for joining us on NTA Tuesday Live. We are talking about the Great Green Wall Initiative. Let's start by finding out just what exactly it is. A number of people would have remembered when it was first put forward, but we need to refresh our memory on that. So we turn to the Minister on that, the Great Green Wall Initiative.
What is it all about? Well, your report did a good job of giving some of the history, but essentially it's Africa's effort from the African Union to try to tackle the desertification that has become a huge challenge and a menace to not just livelihoods, but to livestock, to land itself, and has a big impact on conflicts today. So from Senegal to Djibouti, over 7,000 kilometers of an ambitious attempt to create that green wall. And Nigeria's component of it, about 1,500. It covers 11 states, the frontline states, those that we think are most at risk. And the idea, not just to stop, I think, the desert coming further down, but to try to tackle issues of livelihoods, of reclaiming the desert, of ensuring that there's an ecosystem there that exists in an integrated manner, so that we're taking care of sustainable development, a wall that is grown that benefits both people and the environment. You've seen that there is an agency that's in place to try to drive this, and this is because it's important that as government does this, they're able in a structured way to tackle the partnerships that are needed for it at the state level, at the local governments, within private sector, our civil society partners, donor partners, gives us much more ability to leverage more funding and support towards trying to ensure that we tackle this climate change challenge.
Now, for those who do not live close to the belt, they might not really appreciate the magnitude of the devastation we're talking about. How bad is desertification, especially in this part here?
It's akin to no man's land. You know, you have people trying to eke out a living where there is no water, there are extreme temperatures. Most recently, when we spoke to some traditional rulers, they said to us, you know, what we didn't realize was that with desertification comes the attempt to put crops up and farm, and then find that overnight the desert has come and they've lost a whole season. Now, we know that for flooding, and we know that for perhaps pests, but we don't really see and comprehend that with desertification. So it is extreme. It's extremely challenging to people, to health, to animals. You will see that there is no, if at all, you know, access to water, which is life, is extremely difficult and challenging for both man and for animal.
All right, let's come to the Director General of the National Agency for the Great Green Wall. And easily the first thing that anyone would ask is, what's the current state of this project?
Thank you, Cyril. First of all, let me just talk a little bit generally on what is called dry land. Dry land constitutes about 40% of the total global land area. And it is the habitat, which is where most of the cereal, grain, and animals and so on are produced. So it is occupying a very unique economic sort of position globally. Now, coming back home here in Nigeria, we have about 11 states, as the Honorable Minister has indicated, and it is in these states where you get the bulk of the livestock produced, where you get the bulk of the grain, where you get almost 90% of the whole vegetation that's coming out from this place. So looking at this, you know that the habitat of the dry land is conducive for the production of the sustainable, agricultural requirement of the country. Now, if you look at the problem of desertification, desertification is not only bringing in the sun and so on, it's impacting on the livelihood of the community, it is impacting on agriculture. When you have hot desiccating winds blowing in a place where you are supposed to get agricultural produce of, say, certain number of hectares, tonnage, it reduces almost about 1/3 or more because of the direct impact of this hot desiccating wind on the crops. So we looked that the Great Green Wall is coming at the right time to start to address this issue. It has come from the African Union. All African countries have come together in a coherent manner in order to start to address this issue, where we're going to share ideas, we're going to share experience through visits and collectively looking at one single problem that the whole African countries is going to address. In Nigeria, we have started and we have identified several locations. We have talked with the community leaders, traditional rulers, the state governments, and so on and so forth. And we have established a lot of activities in these locations. We have identified so many committee members.
Where are those locations that you find the situation is most threatening?
You see, looking at if you look at the map of Nigeria, you find those at the extreme, where we call it latitude 12 degrees north. This is where the area that is most threatened by desertification. And it cuts across Kebbi, Sokoto, Katsina, Borno, Yobe, Zamfara, and these are the states that are constituting the front line. And we have the buffer states like Gombe, Adamawa, Bauchi, and so on. So these are all almost coming to the front of the desertification threat.
All right, we'll return to see what activities are going on there by way of stemming this desertification and deforestation. But let's come to Dr. Jibu now. And, a lot of people still are yet to come to terms with what is happening to the environment, especially when you talk about desertification and deforestation.
Well, as we speak, the desert is encroaching, and there are 11 states, like was mentioned by the Honorable Minister, that are suffering from severe weather conditions. Let me just explain it a little bit, put it in a frame that will be easier to understand. Most of the time, degree temperature burning the sand almost on a daily basis, and that constitutes into a big dust. And when you have storm, sometimes traveling at about 40, 50 miles an hour, they move the dust to, most of the time, different directions. And that is what desertification is about. And when that happens, the farmlands go. The water supply is depleted heavily. The grazing fields go along as well. And of course, the subsequent fallout is migration. Because when you have this kind of phenomenon developing and people's land go just like that, sometimes overnight, where do you expect them to, what do you expect them to do? I have come across thousands of families that wake up one morning and suddenly the whole land where they have lived and over years are suddenly taken over by desert encroachment. But the painful part of it, which sometimes we tend to underestimate, is that the average nomadic family lives depends on his animal heads, different types of animal heads. And when he has no place to graze those animals, and the water ponds go along with that as well, what do you expect him to do? He migrates. And the problem with that is trampling on other people's green areas. And that is bringing about some of the conflicts that we are experiencing today. So when we talk about desertification, we have to explain it in a proper manner so that the ordinary person, especially the middle belt part of the country and down south, will understand that if the grazing fields are going, if the water supply system is heavily depleted, and if the people are losing their farmlands, where do they go to? What do we do? So that is the issue. That's the point that I've been trying to make over the years. Because sometimes you look at it and you think that we are not doing enough. No, it's not the case. The problem is that the weather situation is becoming very, very severe, which is what we refer to as climate change. So in as much as something is being done, the severe condition that comes out of the climate change makes what little that is being done look as if nothing is being done.
All right, we'll look at many initiatives as we go on. But Dr. Kabir Abdul Qadir,
Yeah.
still on desertification, deforestation, and greening this belt.
Yeah. So I'm the species from that area. So therefore, I will say it as it is. You see, it's a situation that you have to be there before you can understand what is desertification. Desertification doesn't come as they are saying, no. It comes with a whimper. You will not even know. You just realize that something is happening. You see the sun, dry sun from the sky. You see the thunderstorm. You see the rivers getting drier. Then the production in your farmland. You see, so you find that we who are in the desert, you get the point, we are very resilient. In fact, it's one of the things that was negatively impacted. Here's a situation whereby over 40 million people are affected. More than 8 to 9 countries of West Africa put together. But we don't see anything. Outside, they look at Nigeria as a wealthy country. You see? So you find that when the whole thing breaks down, the socio-economic breakdown, because if here is a village, and in village now there are farmers, then also there are occupations that affect the farmer. That is, now you have got somebody like a blacksmith. Now you have got somebody that when you grow your cotton, he weave it. Then you get a dye pit. So you don't, that's why even when the European comes, we are well, clad in our clothes, because all the value chains of that cotton is in one place. But when the desert comes, it affects everybody. That's why nobody can help each other. It affects the farmer foremost. It affects also the fisherman. It affects also the hunter. Then, the Fulani man. Formerly, before the even European left, they designated an area called Forest Reserve. Only Fulanis are allowed to stay there. But people come there, they started to, in the gaze of expansion of the land, or feeding themselves, they started to cut down the trees over there. The Fulanis are out already. You know where to go. That area will got 6 million hectares of that area, which has been delineated, which money was being compensated to the people and gazetted. We have got the gazette. I can tell you all the others, this 6 million hectares, I can show them gazetted. I have to travel to London to get all these things. Here they are. So now come to the desert. The people in the desert, they always try to survive. They are farmers, but they are rearing also small animals, from chicken to goat, you see. When this thing fails, they'll go to another one. When this thing fails, but when everything fails, they have to move. That's why there I was saying there are 4 million environmental refugees in their own country. They move southwards from here up to Lagos. Whenever they get fertile land, they start farming. Before you know it, they become a bit rich. Then when politics comes, they enter politics, they say, no, you are not from this area. You see? And then as the nature comes, the migrants are Muslims. You know, when the people there, they are mostly Christians. So when there's fight between them, they say it's a religious fight. You understand? But really, this is environmentalism. This environment. When politics come, even remember Cote d'Ivoire. In 1970, the same thing happened. Over 1 million migrants together with the president of Cote d'Ivoire. He came, he met, he said, he went to the head of state. Now look, we are being chased by the desert. Here we are. Say, can you vote for me? Block voting. Say yes. They voted for him. But when he died now, this man life to come. Despite the fact he represented that country in international, but they say he's not member. So you find that a desert, which caused by deforestation, because in Nigeria, deforestation is the culprit. You know, when it happens, everything, social, economic, tradition, everything is spoiled. It is the worst thing that can happen to a country. So what we are saying is that people should come. At least people in the South, they know the things have changed. The flights cannot fly at the same time. When do? Because of this thing from the desert. From Europe, millions of tons of dust is being flown over Atlantic to Europe. They know, yes, there is. So therefore, when you cut here, in fact, the thing will go to distant place, it will be affected. So that is what we call desertification. Desertification is absence of life, completely. All the basic thing of life is no more there. Here are people bad, you know. So therefore, one way to do it is to involve all the people. Community should come together to do it. So that's why 2005, when the thing comes, when the shelter belt, we are all there. We talk with them. For my own part, we took alternatives. Because if there is no alternatives, these people will come and harvest it. How much have you borrowed even from international, this World Bank and the rest? What about APCO? They're all there, but because there is no alternative, nothing is happening. You see? So that is.
Well, it would seem to a large extent you up in a fight against nature. And some would tell you that you're not likely to win any war against nature. But then there are also activities, human activities, which have not taken into consideration the effects on the environment itself. Now, how bad has it been? Let's use Nigeria as an example here. Over the years, human activities. There was a time when every year we heard of the symbolic fight against the desert and the planting of trees. And after that, everybody goes to sleep. And we come the next year and we hold another symbolic ceremony.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. I think if we look back in history, we know that one of the things we haven't done well is to address what essentially it's not nature, it's about man. I mean, I think we've just heard explained here that deforestation is not something that happens naturally. It is what man does to the forests and the woodlands that we have. And so I think over the years, we've not had a holistic approach to what we want to do to tackle desertification. And we've not involved the communities, nor have we explained the implications of what people do. We tend to stay in silos. It doesn't help that communication between community, local government, state government, federal government, we have over years invested a prescription from up to down rather than to have a holistic approach to it. And I think we're paying for that. I think that over the years, the tree planting, as committed as people are, it is beyond, as like Sanitation Day. After Sanitation Day, we come back and we wonder why the streets are full of waste. So in the case of the planting, I think what government has tried to do has to say, okay, let's actually, even though it's late, because we see in 2005 we had the idea, it's not till 2013 we're putting a structure in place. I think we have to take responsibility for that. But putting the structure in place has acknowledged that we have to address what is man-made. And those that suffer most, of course, are women and the environment itself. Repositioning the Great Green Wall to try to do, to have a response to the questions people are asking. We spend this much money every year, we plant trees, nothing happens, is first of all to understand that this is about local activity. Sustainability is not some of us coming from Abuja to have an activity. It is about the community listening to their needs, addressing some of those issues, not stopping the desert, but reclaiming the desert, because we have lost a phenomenal amount of land to desertification. Today, deforestation, the figures that we have from our agencies are 1.5 million trees are felled. Firewood, illegal logging, whatever it is a major cause of some of the issues that we have. So what are we doing about it? Let's reposition. We're moving, for instance, operationally from Abuja to Kano, where we have a center where we can begin to listen to what states and local governments and communities are telling us. You need to be closer to what we're doing. That's the first thing. The second is that, do we just plant trees for trees' sake? What is the vested interest of someone wanting to do that beyond, again, deforestation? I think people have to look at the economic activity. We've talked about livestock, but I think we can look now at the value chain of economic trees and to see an ecosystem in shelter belts, in forest reserves, in woodlots, in the types of trees that we plant that can create that value chain that gives young people an opportunity to get engaged beyond farming in an income. I think if that doesn't happen, there's no interest in it. I think we continue to migrate. We just heard recently now, you know, where we had grazing reserves, we also had grazing routes. We've seen settlements, we've seen population increase, and therefore food security is an issue. More farming is needed. And we have to solve these tensions, which will automatically arise because, you know, you've got competing demands.
Okay, the phone lines are open, and we have our first caller from Lagos. Kudus is calling in from Lagos. Hello, Kudus. Go ahead. Oh, well, we lost that. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? And you would think that you would want to reclaim.
Yes, absolutely. You can reclaim.
But here we say that if you do not lift the people out of poverty, then your attempts might be thwarted.
No, because they're part of, people being part of reclamation is also about empowerment.
Okay, let's take the felling of trees, for example.
Yes. What's the alternative? I think we just talked about alternatives. There's no way today government will go around and say to a rural population, don't burn firewood until we provide an alternative.
Right.
However, if it's illegal logging, yes, I can. I can ban that. I can stop the export of it. I can say that, look, if you want to fell trees and you want to export them, then you're going to plant 3 for the one that you take down, and you're going to show in concrete terms how that will happen. And then put in regulations that you can enforce. So there are 2 sides to it. There are those that you can actually enforce with regulation. Then we have to look at what is the alternative to the firewood. And I think that apart from replenishing, I think we have to find cleaner ways of using wood, if not at all. I think as you come out of poverty, you then create an environment where you can use alternative fuel sources. And so people are looking at renewables, they're looking at gas, but you can't just automatically think that would happen in the poorest of situations. A gas cooking stove in Ruga is not going to work.
Right.
But so therefore, both go hand in hand. It must be that you sit down there thinking about how you better the lives of people, and at the same time, you're taking climate action and action against deforestation. So it's an integrated way of looking at it. You need many players at the table. You need the private sector. Government can't do this alone. We've done a pretty, not a very good job at it over time. And if we talk about scale, we heard about 40 million people being affected. 40 million people, don't look at it as a challenge of poverty, but an opportunity of empowerment, an opportunity that adds value to this country, adds value to the diversification agenda, adds more hands to try to make better. And so invest in them, invest in women, invest in young people, and in doing that, you've got to have a conversation with them. Okay. No prescriptions. And I think that's what the Great Green Wall Project tries to do.
All right. Let's try this other call from Abdurrahman from Borno, calling in from Borno. Abdurrahman, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
The sun is still shining.
Right.
Yeah, these environmental issues you are discussing is at the heart of the challenges we are facing in this part of the country. Especially emergency coupled with the environmental degradation, especially around Malampatori, Damasak, where we have this great green wall issue. People from the Ministry of Environment went there. They engaged the local community by, providing a corridor where trees were planted to check the degradation from advancing. We really appreciate the effort federal government and World Bank and other sponsors. We want them to come back and continue with this program so that we may not be losing our fertile lands to this encroachment of desertification. I want to also appreciate the superlative effort made by the current minister in the person of Amina Zubair. We really want to commend her and encourage her to do more to bring to an end the issue of degradation and our people will go back to their farms. Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm glad.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Well, DG, you just listened to Abdurrahman, talked about certain areas in Borno. But we've also had reports about efforts that have been made in Skebi, for instance. And if you talk about alternatives, where we said the provision of stoves made some difference. Tell us about that and where are we now?
Well, thank you, Cyril. You see, the Great Green Wall is focusing not only on establishment of biological corridor to check the drought having desertification. We have to look into the livelihood of the people because you cannot divorce the activities of the people on the impact they create on the environment. So when you try to checkmate and improve the livelihood of the community, the people living around that area, then take them off the land. The land has got its natural resilience to recoup and grow if it is not impacted, if it is not affected. So one of those things that we take on board is to see what are these causes. Is cutting of the trees. If you have to cutting the trees, how do you go about? You come up with alternative means of giving out energy, or to improve the standard of how that these people are using the firewood. These small stuff that we give and so, some of them, small tweaks, if you put in there, it will be able to provide you good food rather than putting big loads or whatever and so on of wood. I hold a view, which is personal to me, that if we are able to checkmate the utilization of firewood in the urban areas, we are going to go a long way because the people in the villages are just using branches, twigs, and so on and so forth for their own energy requirements.
In the urban centers.
But in the urban centers, okay, if I can now take one by one, for instance, you go to schools, there are feeding the school students and so on. They're using big logs for cooking food. You go to prison, the same thing, big logs of each log. That means if you see one log, one tree is gone. If you go to just anywhere, you swear man, Maitsire, and everybody, they're all using all these logs and so on. We have to find a way of addressing this issue.
All right. We'll come to that in a moment. We have Umar from Birnin Kebi. I guess this is Umar Anachi from Birnin Kebi. Go ahead. Hello.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tilo. Good evening.
Right, good evening.
I'm Umar Anachi calling from Birnin Kebi. You see, this great green wall, I think, is only on paper. It's not practical something. It's only on paper that we hear this kind of thing. Even during Goodluck Jonathan, when this program was launched at Vachaka village, when you go to Vachaka today, you cannot even trace the place where it was launched. Let Minister of Environment visit Vachaka and see things for herself. I mean, we are not even serious about this thing, generally, honestly. The government is only playing a kind of ceremony that you gather people to go there and plant trees. Next year, plant the same place, you plant another tree, the same place. The same pot that you did last year, it is the same pot that you are going to plant another tree. So it shows that the government, the people, we are not even serious about this thing. And this will cause a serious problem in Nigeria. Even the problem of insecurity that we are facing, the issue of herdsmen, grazing reserve, migration. I mean, larger chunk of Nigerian problem lies on this issue of desertification. But it didn't get the required attention that the program deserves to get from the government and from other agencies, honestly. Even last year, I think the present governor launched a forestation program, the same place. That is to tell you that there is nothing progressing there. We are not even serious, honestly. So if we are serious, we have to give a kind of attention that the program deserves. The ecological fund, the governors of the affected area, they turn the ecological fund as like a pocket money. Nobody can assess how they spend their ecological fund. I think we need to do something drastically and urgently. If not, the desert will consume the whole of this country. Continue to bless Nigeria. Umar Anache from Birnin Kebi.
Right. Thank you, Umar Anache. Okay. But we'll return to the DG.
I've heard Omar very well what you have said. Maybe he has not visited Bachaka or Fusent. Some of us were there. We have seen the effort that was put in place. Even the tree planted by the last president is almost taller than me now. So the whole place, the debate is well established. But I mean, nevertheless, what he said, I mean, nobody can run from the fact that in any human endeavor, you are bound to encounter with several problems, particularly planting trees and so on, where you have all the goats roaming about, where you have, I mean, the termites affecting that, where you have problems of water, where, I mean, the boreholes we have provided have continuously been vandalized. In one borehole, you find about 2 to 3 times the pump has been removed and so on. Just recently, I mean, I sent people to go and replace some pumps and so on. Before they came back already.
These are basically rural settings.
Definitely, yeah.
So who's vandalizing them? Who's removing the pumps? To do what with them?
I tell you, people drive from the cities. They go and get whoever the security man there, tie him up, and remove. In fact, we even go and put a lot of concrete, a lot of metals and so on. They take 6 hours over the night to break through, to remove the submersible pumps and so on. You know, we are using solar energy because in the rural areas there is no opportunity for getting diesel or fuel, whatever and so on. So all these efforts, in fact, I mean, are being challenged. But we're looking at, I mean, as the Honorable Minister has said, we are repositioning the agency, moving over to Kano. The operational activities is going to move over to Kano, where we're going to have close sort of link with the people on the ground. And in each of the states, we're going to establish state offices where we have our own people on the ground to work hard and then mobilize the community, because we need the community support for this program to succeed. Without community support in the state governments, no way.
I think just to add to that, frankly, we have not succeeded in getting community ownership of this program. And I think that that is really at the crux of a lot of the challenges that the Great Green Wall have come up against. And I think that that's what we have to do better at. I think the other thing that has happened is that we have to remember that we are growing in population, and so therefore we are not doing it sufficient to keep up with the population growth, the deforestation, the desertification. We are not keeping up with it. And so government has to do much more. And we have to do it in a way that we work with other sectors. So in environment, we have to work with agriculture. We have to work with water resources. We have to work with communities and local governments. And unless we do that, we can't get the scale. 40 million people is an opportunity. And for that, you need investments and you need partnerships. So that's where we have to move to, and that's where what we have to really push at. And if it doesn't happen, then you will see some of the challenges that we talk about, which for me, worse than desertification is the recent conflicts, because lives are being lost in the hundreds and thousands, and it will only increase, whether it is Boko Haram and the drying up of Lake Chad and the desertification there, or it is the herdsman and the farmer clashes that we are seeing. These are all environmental issues that are exacerbating the situation.
Okay. From Enugu, we have Isa Suleiman calling in from Enugu. Hello, Isa.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good. I want to contribute small. Actually, I came from Katsina State. Only I just transfer myself to Enugu to do some businesses here. But the issue is that this desertification program has started since during Babangida, General Babangida. You go to Katsina along Jibia Road, before you reach Jibia, there is a place called Kuka Babangida. It was launched around 1990, where so many seedlings of trees were planted. And after, nobody was taking care of that program. In fact, when we say shelter belt, what is the meaning belt? Belt means to cover this 1,500 kilometers. That means from Adamawa down to Cape. Just 1 acre, 3 acres. That's why they planted trees, neem. They will just use small pens of wares. They will cage them. Is that how to prevent Sahara? So in fact, there's a lot of work to do. And the gentleman there, Mr. Goni, who is from Borno, where the desert is so, I can say so devastating, highly devastated. And he's talking about where the Sahara encroachment more devastated. He mentioned Kabena, Kebi, and Zampara. He didn't mention Borno and Yobi, which is a highly devastated area. And there's no water there. You go to office Kukawa and the rest, you cannot even travel there. Everybody has, they have left the place exactly. So shelter tell me to start from our border, not to come inside the town without planting trees on the road. Where if a big man like president going or governor will see trees on the road, you go there between Niger, border and Niger and Nigeria, so that we can prevent it coming. But you see them on the road. You see them on the road planting trees, using wires, those barbed wires, chasing them. Just like half an acre, and you collect it from the farmer. They are not even buying the land, or they are not even going into the bush. As the gentleman mentioned, about 60 million acres or hectares of land were already implanted by the white men who grazed. And the many trees were planted, and our government are seeing people are doing everything there, destroying them. Nobody is talking. They share the land by themselves. If you go there, you see as governor, as this, as chairman, everybody. Somebody even has over 1,000 hectares of land. From that bush, they are the people. Nobody is talking. What happened to that gazette? What happened to that gazette he collected? Why can't we talk about it? And we are talking of the grazing reserve in the south, southwest, everywhere, they're fighting. So we know that our problem, we know it, and we don't want to work on it. The minister, I'm sorry, she is just a victim. It's a victim because a victim of corruption. This money will be always the political fund, millions of naira. But actually, they're pocketing the money. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody. Nobody will tell you what have they done with the money. Even board you cannot see in the rural areas. Go there and see. Go to Borno, go to Katsina, go to Kebbi. And these are areas where there are so many, they are highly populated and also poverty. Victim of poverty below, you can even call it below 1 naira per day. Nobody, nothing. Nothing is going on. No activity. So, in fact, the Mr. Newton has said it very well. And Dr. Kabir Ahmed has said it very well. But that man, Dr. Gwani, is trying to hide issues. Please come out and talk. Talk very well. Don't come and hide. Because it's not a permanent seat. It's not a permanent seat. You must leave it one day. So say the truth. Don't go and hide. Say they are doing. What are they doing?
Okay.
From the Sahara, I'm from Sahara area. Nothing is done. Nothing.
All right, Isa Suleiman.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we'll give the DG of the agency, we'll give him the right of reply to that.
Suleiman, I appreciate your concern. I do appreciate what you're talking about. These places you have talked. I mean, I worked in Yobe. I was the forestry specialist for the EU project, and I've traversed the whole part of the Yobe. My footprints are there. I've worked hard and so. And we're working. I've been in forestry for quite some time of my life. A good part of my life I've been practicing forestry. And I've established plantations in various places which are still there for everybody to go and see. But I do appreciate your own concern, having come from that place. But we do appreciate that, as the Honorable Minister has said, without getting the community on board and getting their own buy-in, will face difficulty. But one of the measures we have taken in place is to empower those people. We are going to train them. We are going to establish a skill acquisition center in each of these states. Already some have been established. We are being in partnership with some universities and so on to go and have a very good dialogue with the community to get, I mean, what is their own sort of, I mean, what they are looking for. What do they want for GGW to assist them in terms of empowering them to take them off the land? Because if we don't take the people off the land and stop what is now being exploited in terms of firewood, in terms of lots of trailers that is leaving all those places coming to the urban areas and so on, still, even if you plant tree, whatever, you provide fencing materials, whatever, and so on, it's all just like a drop in the sea. So we have to establish that. But shelter belt has to be established, and this belt is just to cut across the movement of the wind. The planting is done, oriented in such a way that, I mean, it is at right angle to the movement of the wind so that it will now stop the wind from movement.
Okay. Abuja, we have Bello. Hello, Bello. Well, I think we've lost that. But Dr. Jimuno, well, yeah. You see, it's an aspect of it that most times we overlook. Community ownership. Projects come, but the people who are meant to benefit from such projects don't believe it. They always see it as a government project. In this case, they'll say, well, that's the Abuja People's Project. But do they really appreciate that what they do impacts on the environment and worsens the conditions?
Well, until we begin to separate natural causes from man-made causes, I will take what we have been doing over the years, but before I do that, let me explain that when we started the campaign to kind of halt the encroachment of the desert, the Sahara occupied 1/3 of the entire African land space. Today, sorry, it's occupied 1/5. Today it's 1/3. So that's the seriousness of the matter. So if you are planting trees, be it shelter belt, be it Great Green Wall, they take time to, in fact, those trees, you have to nurture them for a minimum period of 3 years before they stand on their own. That is 3 rainy seasons.
With quick fix.
That's right.
Not even the species of not, fast growing.
Yeah. So, so if and until you have that wall, like the DG said, that will stop or rather control the movement of the sand that brings desertification, before you then begin the process of land reclamation. And it's only through land reclamation that you can bring back grazing fields, for instance, that farmers can begin to return, that settlements can occur. And when you now have the settlement re-establishing itself, then the community can then become part of the program. If they don't return back, those that have migrated away from the desert area, you cannot have that kind of community participation that we are talking about. And once you have that community participation, you begin to build the bottom-up arrangement that we have always talked about. And this whole thing will not succeed until you have that. So for those that have telephoned, I mean, I can reason with them because they are not seeing it come out fast enough. But if we don't follow that process and finding a way of, like the Honorable Minister said, of calming the community by giving them some basic requirements like is being done now. Because you see, it's not just planting 1 million trees that is the important thing. Because you can plant 1 million trees, but if you have people cutting down 2 million trees, it makes the 1 million trees you planted useless. So if that can be taken in conjunction with, that is stopping people from cutting down, alongside educating them and taking them along on this whole thing, we will not get too far. I'm saying this because what we have done in Makoda, Dambata area of Kano State, which is why I'm happy that the movement of the proper center is going to be taken to Kano, because the nearer the center to the areas that are affected, the better for everybody. But what we did there was, and the area was allocated to us by Kano State government, and an area that was badly devastated by the encroachment of the desert. What we did was to plant what we referred to then as wall of trees. At the time, the wall of trees, and it took about 4 to 5 years before the trees matured to a point of halting the desert. We began the process and we used the communities. We built secondary schools, or rather expanded the secondary school from 300 pupils to about 1,600 within a very short period. In fact, the Honorable Minister was involved when she was with MDG at that time. So once that happened, it didn't take another 4 years for the grazing fields to return. Settlements came back. People, in fact, if you go to that whole area now, it's all green. Farmers are now able to farm. Grazing fields are all over the place. So one has to follow this in that sequence, because if you keep jumping from one side of the project to another, you will not be able to realize the kind of results that one is hoping to achieve from this whole project.
Yeah. All right. Just about this time, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on the Great Green Wall Initiative. We'll also take some comments from our guests here and hopefully more phone calls. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. We're talking about desertification and the depletion of, we've lost so much. And the talk has been on reclaiming the land from the desert, planting trees. But like Dr. Jibuno said, it's not something that you don't plant a tree today and wake up tomorrow and it's grown. So some would say, what are the kinds of trees that you should put in areas like that? Fast growing, what kinds of trees are appropriate in trying to reclaim what the desert has taken away from us?
There are different trees. There's energy trees, like when we are trying to bring in the jatropha since 2007. A jatropha has got a property to replenish that place. And before you know it, you see grasses coming up. Because it has got a deep root, what we call tap root. It's got 4 lateral and center deep root that can bring water and other minerals from down up. So before you know it, you see grasses. You know it, before you know it, you also see some worms. China. You get the point? You see, in nature, God has done everything for us. Actually, it's a man human beings that try to truncate everything. Because normally earthworm is supposed to replenish the land to make it productive. It's the ones that even produces our organic fertilizer, earthworm. But do you know what? We kill it. Through what? By applying fertilizer. Earthworm cannot withstand heat. Immediately apply fertilizer, it's gone. It will die off. So what we are saying is that we have got indigenous trees that we are known for. It's now almost extinct. They are the lost trees of Africa. Bobo trees, shana trees.
I don't see the
all
baobab
these
anymore.
You see, they are there. You know, there. So during all good old days, this kind of trees were given to farmers to plant in their farm, on their farm. You see, first of all, it has got very massive roots. It holds the earth, so there will not be any water erosion. Then it has got big branch, where big birds can stay. No, if I give you money, you cannot get those type of birds. They have all gone because they also nest on a big trees. Big trees, that's why they nest. But when you cut it, they go. When I do my research, I find most of these things, that even some we got in the United States because they are transatlantic. They sleep in the sky for about 2 days and they continue until they cross the ocean. They are there. Vultures, you cannot get vulture now. They are in the south because the big trees have been cut. So you have to break them now. These big trees, they are tradition because we get our food from them. You know, if you say Baba, anybody who knows Katsina, tuwo and kuka. That's what the president said. What is your best food? He said tuwo and kuka. But why does he get the kuka now? The kuka is going. You see, so what we are saying is that by the time you come, because the first thing I did, I am a veterinary doctor by profession. I mean, a veterinary doctor working in WOM as a research officer. Then there is Rinderpest. I challenged the government. I went to Lyon, import my own vaccine. I started vaccination animals. That is the time I found out the problems about Nigeria. Because all these big forests I know before, like Palgode Forest in Kano, like this in Katsina, they are gone. What is there now is people going, harvesting this is a very, very big business. Firewood sales, it's a very, they go and cut the whole trees. Formerly, you cannot cross it on foot. You have to go on horses. But now, everything is gone. So I wrote a letter out of this thing to Abdusalam Abubakar. I told him the problem. I gave him example. I gave him empires that was brought down by deforestation. I told him what Sahara was there before was a large forest, but it was all down. So then the time they called me. So what do you have on board? I said the first thing you do, sensitization, telling the people to know, and then give alternative. Let's get that is a substitution program. Let's say, okay, go and do it. I divided the system into two. I gave them, the first one is the one we know. That is coal. I say coal is a very big alternative because it generates heat 4 times more than firewood and coal. And then people, they know it. And they can cook. And we can mold it into any shape you want through briquetting. Then 2006, myself and the then Minister of Environment, we came with Jatropha 2006. Then 2007, I started sending people to Jaipur near Pakistan for high-tech training on Jatropha. I started with the government. I went to the Ministry of Environment. This PAMSEC was the one that we appointed to go there. They don't have money. So what I did now is to come and put a structure. Then I divided the whole thing into two, upstream and downstream. I said, okay, upstream and downstream, that is the one that everybody knows. Extracting the oil from jatropha, using it in various ways. You get the point, whether for energy, whether for motive, whether also for domestic energy. So we started. I took this thing, we started that one. We have gone a long way. I was invited by the Indian government to come and make presentation about the jatropha in Nigeria, prospect and challenges.
So why is the jatropha not
let me just add, let me add a bit.
I tell you, now we have got an area where it's six of this, what do you call it, hamlets. We put them together. We say, okay, we plant jatropha. Then we extract the oil. We say, okay, come. Okay. With this jatropha now, you are going to be the first place in Nigeria where you don't use anything like petroleum products, and then also, so we did.
Let me give
so
some
that
good
is
news.
the only place that can do.
Okay.
Let me give some good news to you.
Yes.
Your message on jatropha from 2006 and 7 has got ears, because on the October the 16th we're having a huge forum to see how we can put that to work.
But we're never invited.
You are invited. You are.
All right.
You are absolutely invited.
Well, you got that first hand on Tuesday Live.
Right. Let me just add something else. I mean, because sometimes it's always good to find those trees that are, community kind of, communities know the trees that do well in their communities. So sometimes it's not that easy to import trees to an area that. So, but having said that, there is one that is very common and doing very well because of its economic value, and that's the neem tree. The neem trees, they have a lot of economic values in the sense that when they start seeding, you can make one of the best cosmetic oil from neem seeds. We started in Dambata, the same local government where we are working. We even fabricated machine that crushed the neem seeds and made cosmetic oil out of them. And that also applies to some other economic trees that you can donate to the people.
Okay.
And once they know that the mangoes, the oranges that you are planting alongside those trees that you put down to fight the desert belong to them, and that you will in turn, within a period of time, build them an industry that will squash the oranges, that will squash the mangoes, and they can get their juice from there. That is also part of what the communities are, that's how you get them to participate in the whole project.
All right, let's quickly return to the phones. We have Bello from Abuja, right? Bello. Hello, Bello.
Yes. Hello, sir. Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
And my contribution is, this is a very important topic. Yes, this is a very important topic. And I want to thank the Honorable Minister, the DG, and everybody that contributed to this. And sincerely, DGW have done a very good job. I was in Sokoto some time ago, and I saw the way cows are struggling, cows in thousands are struggling to get water from the drinking trough, the animal drinking trough. I almost said tears. Because the people, they come from different towns and they take turns to drink water. So sincerely, and this program has not been for too long, but DGW is just growing, and if they can continue with this pace and they can get support from people, from Nigerians, sincerely, the desertification can be solved. So all we just need to do is to continue in this same manner, not to give up, and we don't need to say that they've not done anything. I was opportune to be in Gombe also, and I saw the same thing happening there. And I see people really struggling and really trying to do anything to survive, to get water. So, and some of these trees are planted, and suddenly you see them disappearing. People personally take them to their own houses to plant in their houses because they so much need shelter. And you know, to be frank with you, it's not just a day or a year thing. It's something that has to be done consistently. So when there is when the shelter bed or the orchard is available for the people, then they can even distribute also to communities so that people can have it in their homes, in their areas, and people can always understand that this tree is not only just for the government use, but also for our own personal use, because it helps the people. So I just want to encourage DGW not to give up. This is a good job they are doing, and they are working in the right perspective. And I want to give kudos to the Honorable Minister and the team there. It's really a good job to be done perfectly. It's not about a day thing. It's not something you can just do in a day. It's something that all of us have to continue to do and continue to support those people doing it. Some of those trees that we've seen grown today, some of them have been planted over 5 to 6 years ago. Now we are seeing the results. DGW as an agency, I don't even think it's up to 5 years, and they are struggling to do things in the right direction. All I think we need to do is to be patient, support them, and at the end of the day, it will get to every community that all of us will begin to see. And you know, so this one I saw in Sokoto, it's not even in town. It's about more than 2 hours drive from inside the state capital. Okay. So I just want to thank Soba. They are doing a good job, and I want to need to promote and really tell people about what's happening.
Okay.
So that,
thank you very much.
Really know what we are doing.
Bello, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Right, but let's come to the DG, and we've heard this mentioned about support and about funding. Let's ask this at this point. What's the funding profile like for the Great Green Wall?
Thank you very much, Cyril. First of all, I would like to thank Bello for appreciating the little that GGW is doing. Since the takeoff money that was given to Great Green Wall, we haven't had anything yet. When the act was put in place, in fact, I mean, in 2015, there's a certain amount of money that has been dedicated or allocated from the Federation account, Ecological Fund, to be given over to Great Green Wall for the efforts. We're still working with the Honorable Minister to get the fund to start coming in. But at the moment, we're just struggling with the takeoff grant that was given to us, which is almost depleted, and we're looking forward in the next maybe few months or so for the government to release the statutory allocation that was given to Great Green Wall through the Ecological Fund Office.
Right. See, so it's not just the vegetation, the forests that have been depleted. Even the funding is, Minister.
Yes, I mean, I think the Act is very clear about the monies that should come from the Ecological Fund to the Great Green Wall, and that is a work in progress. But having said that, the way we want to approach what we do within the 11 states is to create opportunities that we get investors to come in. And it's not just, as we said, about planting the trees, but it's the economic activity that we can generate. It's the power that we can bring. So if we bring off-grid power, that's solar, down there, we try to deal with the costing and the strategy for renewable energy, then that also needs investment. So we'd like to leverage funds. Since we had the climate change agreement in December, last year, there has been a lot of funding that is available to countries like ours. We have to prepare those projects, and we have to try to leverage some of that funding. Today we have visiting with us the Special Envoy on Climate Change to President Obama, and we've had meetings with them. They're asking us, what can we do to support you? And one of the big issues is about financing. So I think, you know, in addition to domestic resources, which are challenged right now, we have competing demands, and we all know we want to deal with conflict, we want to deal with governance issues, and we also want to look at the economy, jobs for our people. That really is the most important. We're developing now a list of the top 10 grass, shrubs, trees, and that's something that we want to discuss at the meeting that we propose to hold on Jatropa. But amongst those trees is mention of kuka, and I know when we talked about the baobab tree, everybody was why, and it was exactly that argument. This is actually becoming one of the lost trees of Africa. We're talking about moringa, we talk about vivertier grass, which has been seen in the Gobi Desert to reclaim. We're also talking about the trees like rosewood, acacia. These are all trees that are known to do well, and we need to bring them back again. So I think that what we've got is an acknowledgement, take responsibility. We're not doing as well as we should be. How can we do more? How can the Buhari administration, with the governance structures that we have in place, improve them and ensure that in the next 3 years of this administration that we're laying strong foundations that cannot just be lost because we've gone. I think it's very painful to know how many millions of trees we have spent money on, and you can't see them. You really can't see them. We visited many places in December with the Minister of State, and to go to places, as he said, where there are boreholes, but boreholes have been vandalized. So therefore, the trees cannot possibly be given water. But again, I come back to, you know, there are people who are working in the environment, in the area of desertification, like Dr. Jibuno, like now I'm going to call him my father because he's a vet and my father was a vet and we were both in VOM. And I think we need to work with them. We need to work with them at scale, not a pilot, because I think we have had enough of pilots. We need to do scale. 40 million Nigerians is a lot of Nigerians.
From Calabar, we have Joshua calling in. Joshua, go ahead. Hello, Joshua.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, Joshua.
Are you hearing me?
We're hearing you.
Hello. This is Joshua calling from Canada.
Yes, Joshua, we can hear you. Go on.
I'm not hearing you, but let me go on and ask the question. I will appreciate the Honorable Minister Environment. I will appreciate the Honorable Minister for Environment to take consideration while impact assessment has not been approved for our governors to construct the superhighway. Does it mean just a track of road will make the forest in Calabar become a desert? That is my question.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Minister heard your question. Right.
Thank you, Joshua. We take very seriously what is happening in Calabar and Cross River State with the superhighway. Let's be very clear. The superhighway in itself is a good infrastructure to put down to open up economies. And I think that, you know, with the president, when he did the groundbreaking, that was the signal we were saying, is that you need infrastructure to open up, but not at all costs, which is why you have the environmental impact assessment. And every project has to go through that. Unfortunately, the superhighway did not go through those processes. And while we continue to engage with the governor of Cross River State, hoping that those processes can be put back on track, it is still a work in progress. We have had a report that was submitted. A panel of experts examined it, and they turned it back because obviously it was not good enough. And this concerns us. Now, we know that there has been damage already, and we hope that we can replenish that. But what is very clear is that as the project stands now, it cannot get an EIA, and therefore it cannot we cannot proceed with it. What we have done is actually to stop the work. When the work did not stop, we took out a court injunction, and that injunction still stands. So What is happening right now is that we continue to engage with the Cross River State Government to ensure that those issues that were raised in the report by the panel of experts are addressed, and we can get back on track to producing an EIA for the Cross River Superhighway.
All right, so Joshua, there you are. We have another call coming through. This time, Salisu is calling in from Lugbe here in the FCT. Hello, Salisu.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
The Honorable Minister and the guests in the House, good evening once again.
Good evening.
This is a very interesting topic. At my own contribution, we are talking about when you are explaining on how to cut a desertification. You talk about the involvement of Minister of Water Resources and Agri. I think it is also important to involve the Ministry of Petroleum, because why we say that, I remember last year when the minister was speaking about the gas, the utilization of gas as a substitute of coal and firewood. It is important we have this gas in abundance. Let us take this and then train the local people, and when we are giving them in a giveaway price, within a shortest time, they will know how to manage to make use of it. Secondly, the issue of drilling of boreholes on the shelter bed, I think it is not best. The best thing is to channel the water across the boundary to what they call irrigation as a source of farming. At the same time, it's watering the plants. That can reduce a lot of things. We believe that you people are doing your best, but sincerely speaking, it is not much enough. There are gurus in the house with you here, there. It is important. They are well learned to carry them along. Nigeria is belong to all of us. You have already said a lot of calamity. Some of the reason of this Fulani herdsmen, farmers, these are the dangers. And if we can be able to resolve this issue, because I believe this desertification is just like a communicable disease. Why is that? It is when the issue of disease, you see a serious approach. When such kind of problems is engulfing us, we will not take a drastic measure. And again, apart the issue of ecological funds, there is need for federal government to review on how that money will be channeled to the governors. It is very important to block the leakages. That will help a lot. So, in summary, I just want to say once again, good evening. May God give you the wisdom to propel this journey. This is the opportunity, this is the last opportunity for Nigerians, for all of us. Don't misuse this opportunity, please. For elders in the house, he was talking about the gazetted plan for the grazing. What are you hiding in the past? Bring it on board. Are we the democratic system that they put the plan? It is the European before the colonization. Bring it on board and then enroll it. Are we above the law? Are we not Nigerians? Do what is supposed to be according to the law. Please, this is the time, because time is going. And time is very important, because we want to think about our generation and our children, our fathers. It is very, very important. Please, when we are doing something pertaining to the Nigerians, we need not to fear anything. We need to bring something and say it the way it is. And I believe you as a minister, it is because of your quality that you are there. So it is important, don't miss this opportunity given to you. Do the right thing
All right.
for Nigerians so that leave that legacy
Okay.
so that tomorrow people like us will be proud. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Salisu called in from Lugbe. Well,
Let me first of all appreciate what Mr. Salisu has said. He has talked about particularly the energy aspect to bring in the petroleum ministry into the activities of the desertification control. Yes, the Honorable Minister is working very hard on that. Recently, we have had a meeting with the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas, and I, being one of the staff of that foundation member of that company, I knew that during Yaradua, he just called the management of LNG and said, why are you expecting all the gas outside? What are you going to give to the nation? What the nation needed needs is just LPG. So LNG just commissioned a consultant to go and carry out a study, and we got the total amount of LPG requirement of the country, which is about 150,000 metric tons of standard metric tons of gas. And LNG was quite willing and ready to provide all that to the nation. And to bring it all the way from Boni, you have to bring in big ships on the high seas and so on. And then from those ships, they have to take it to the jetty. Unfortunately, that wasn't working. When the ship comes, it spends, instead of spending only 2-3 days, it spends almost 3 months because that gas is not offloaded. So it wasn't able to reach the hinterland. But the Honorable Minister is working hard on it now, so that we are going to instigate that to see that the Petroleum Ministry and then get the private sector, already she has started to work on that. I think people like Sani Dangote and so on are quite willing to come into all this and so on. So we're going to establish depots of liquefied natural gas virtually everywhere, gas everywhere. I mean, in the country, in the hinterland and so. And I believe that is going to minimize the impact of the desertification.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. We have Isa calling in from Mina. Hello, Isa. Isa from
Hello,
Mina.
good evening.
Right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm not hearing you, but I'm sure you are hearing me.
Yes.
All right. I want to thank NTA Live for bringing such topical issues, for discussion. And I want to thank the discussants. However, there is a problem in this country, which is sustainability of any policy or program. We have good planners, and we used to have good policies, but these policies are usually not sustainable. For instance, all of you on the panel there, during your school days, you did geography, and I'm sure you did what is called vegetation. And then you will appreciate how the vegetation graduates from the southern part to the northern part. Those of you are appreciating this one now, and you are discussing this particularly, those who have taken it upon themselves to see that we bring back the old good days where you are traveling from Lagos to Kano, you will be passing through various vegetations, from rainforest to Sahel to even desert. And that refreshes your mind back to the geography. But today, no more geography in primary or secondary. And I'm sure even some tertiary institutions are trying to phase it out. Yeah, those of you that have gone outside,
You will see if you are traveling from London to, say, Manchester. Along the road, you see how beautifully they kept the vegetation. That is not in this country. Again, when the children are not brought up to love vegetation, definitely they are not going to appreciate this effort you are trying to make of great green wall. It will not be appreciated. And definitely we will soon be facing out. We will soon be leaving the stage for them. And this program will just be a washout because they will not appreciate it. They don't know what it is even means. So one, I would like to suggest that policy somersault should be thought of very seriously before it is changed. When a policy is made, before it is changed, it should be thought of very seriously. Facing out geography in secondary school, I think is a very great disservice to the children and to this nation, especially those of us that are living in far north. I want to rest my case here, and I want to hope that you will look at the situation. God bless you.
Right. Thank you, Isa from Mina. Well, we're trying to tie here the agricultural and economic benefits of the Great Green Wall Initiative. But in the issue of job creation, how are we looking to make an impact, to reduce the hordes of unemployed people, especially young people we have in this country today?
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Cyril. I want to come back to the point the Honorable Minister and Alhaji has spoken about the introduction of economic species in the Great Green Wall planting efforts. We want to kill two birds with one stone. One, trying to improve the degraded land, at the same time empowering the community through some economic activities. When they plant these species, particularly gum arabic, moringa, and jatropha he's talking about, the Honorable Minister has, invited him. She mentioned that the jatropha is coming up, the National Stakeholder Forum is coming up October this year. It's from 4th and 5th of October, and she has already opened up and invited you for that. So we want to see that along the corridor, people are involved in planting economic species where they are going to benefit from. And we're going to give them a lot of training through these skill acquisition centers. We're targeting to train thousands of people in each of these centers, so that at the end of the day, if we start to get our own ecological fund flowing in, when we train people on a particular trait, having got a feedback on what their expectations and so on are, then we empower them. We will give them something to go and start off their life with, so that they will go out and depend on themselves and maybe employ more people by themselves. So, and this is going to be targeted only in the rural areas where we are operating at the moment. And this is, the sort of effort Great Green Wall is, working on, so that we empower our own local communities.
Okay, we have Mohammed calling in from Kaduna. Hello, Mohammed.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Mohammed MDY from Kaduna. You see, honestly, the issue of this desertification in Nigeria, I just look at it as something of media and papers that you read and just dump it and leave it like that. We're supposed to be realistic and be practical. There was a time we went to Borno for vacation. Believe me, I shed tears when I went to a village where desert evacuated almost all the people of the area. In media, you'll be hearing that people saying that they went to this place and plant this and that, which is not true. If truly we want to overhaul all these things, we have to do it in practical. Go to the villages. There are so many villages in this country whereby this desert has evacuated totally from their villages to other places. So we have to sit down and talk through to ourselves. Believe me, what you are doing, especially the minister with the accountable office, go to the villages, go to the rural areas. It's just simple something you will do this. Not in this urban area, go and plant trees at the main road and other places. Go to the rural, as somebody said, Ambata. I'm from Kano State. I know where this man was, this gentleman was saying. I know they have done a wonderful job. So that should be in all over the north. Go far north and see what is going on. Just Jigawa, go to Jigawa and see what is going on there. So you people have to be very, very serious on this thing and go to the rural area, the villages. Go there and plant these things so that people might enjoy. But if you continue what you are doing here, believe you, that is how this thing will be going. Nothing will be done. But if you will down to the rural people that are farming, and the Minister of Water Resources has to be here. Because there are so many things that we want to ask concerning the water something. Because without water, you cannot plant anything. So please, I want this issue to be discussed amicably, and we need total overhaul on this issue. Go to the roots and start this thing. But if you continue saying all this in media and newspaper, believe me, you are not going to anywhere. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you, Mohammed. Well,
I think a lot of points are being made about the importance of trying to empower people. And in addition to what the Great Green Wall is wanting to do, we also want to embark upon a national program. Because no matter what we say about the desertification, we're also seeing the deforestation of plantations and forests in the south of the country as well. So we're hoping that what we can do is let's reestablish the nurseries we have, because as was earlier mentioned, it takes a long time to nurture a tree and very quick time to just chop it down. So, you know, really getting people involved in nurturing from the seedlings, that they are strong enough to go out and be planted. Often we've seen contracts being given out for seedlings that are not strong, so they're going to fail anyway. And then to work with the Ministry of Water Resources to say, where are the possibilities of them coming in and ensuring that we have water in the dry spells so it can augment what is happening elsewhere. And then, as I said earlier, shelter belts are not new. You know, they really aren't. The forests are not new. How can we go back there and replenish them? Alongside this, I know that Dr. Jibano has a big part of the work that he's done that has succeeded in the sustainability is catching children young. And so education is important. Planting in schools. I know that in Gombe State, for instance, Professor Madi, who did a great job at the State University, has now gone to greening schools. And I think that that gives us sustainability. When a child appreciates the value, then they grow up protecting what should be a greener environment. So I think there's much to do. I think again, it's about us reaching out and doing better than we've done, taking ownership of the problems that we've created because we've not done them right in the past and trying to get them right now.
Well, Dr. Jibano, you've traveled extensively and you've taken on the desert, literally speaking.
My nickname is Desert Warrior.
Yeah. Right. But again, people point to certain examples around the world where nations have had to take on the desert. Places that could be referred to as deserts had been turned into greenland. Now, they mentioned Israel, for instance. Others say, well, that's just a small place, so it was much easier to handle, but Nigeria is so large. But are there lessons for Nigeria to pick up here in the experiences from other parts of the world and the role of technology in addressing these issues?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned Israel, because the whole of Israel was desert, Negev desert. And it took them about 50 years to recover Israel to where it is today. That was where I did my research on science of desertification. And I've also visited some other deserts like Gobi Desert, visited Arizona. As you may know, Las Vegas was built right in the middle of Nevada Desert, just to contain the Nevada Desert. Today, you can see what has become of Las Vegas, and it went a long way towards controlling in fact, I keep talking about the Sahara being the only active desert in the world. Sahara is the only, the rest have been tamed. And they have used methods that we are trying to introduce here, which is halting the desert from moving. Great Green Wall, shelter bed, whatever you want to call it. So until we take, you see, something else that is very close to my heart is the issue of grazing fields. We had grazing fields in the northern part of this country. Cattle rearers didn't have to go more than 5 kilometers to graze. Today, they travel sometimes 40, 50 kilometers looking for where to graze. How did it happen? That's where we must take our mind back to. How did that happen? It was the drought, the great drought of 1974 that cleared most of the grazing fields. Because before then, what they did was move. The cattle rearers moved, you know, like in a circle form, whereby if they stay in an area and exhaust the greenery and the water in that area, and they know when that happens, they move to the next location. And they went round like that. At the time they came back to where they started, the area had, because they would leave a lot of waste there, and greenery will return. And that was how they moved around over a period of 100 years. But of course, so if we don't halt the desert, if we don't tame it, because we are not going to take over, we're not trying to take over the whole, the desert will be there, like in other countries that you mentioned, in Israel, in America, in Australia. They are still having their desert, but the desert there, they are not active like Sahara. Sahara is moving. And you see, like the Honorable Minister mentioned over reforestation and deforestation. If the present pattern continues, you will find that because the more degradation you have, the easier it is for the desert to encroach. Even through bad land management, bad farming methods. Once you have that degradation, it is a lot easier. And people, most of the time, you don't see the dust when it is moving. And once you have degradation, farming, and you know, in a country where agriculture plays or supposed to play a major role, if you have a situation where most of your farmland are no longer farmable, what do you do? So I would want us to go back to that issue of halting the desert. And the only way we can halt, at least to begin to take back what the desert has claimed. Then, of course, the process of taming will take maybe another 50 years before we can do that. So, yes, it's a good question, and I'm happy you brought it up. It's been done in other countries. Unfortunately, I have visited all those countries. How did I get into this? It was through my expeditions. I wasn't born to be a desert warrior. I ran into it through my expedition, and after what I saw in a few of my crossing, that I started the campaign. That if nothing was, and this was 40-something years ago. And that was when I knew that if nothing was done, and that was also when I saw what the drought of 1974 did to to grazing field. That was what I saw, what it did to farming land. So, but of course, like I said, you can only do, then it was advocacy. But here we are, trying to see how best we can. Yes.
Well, as we wind down, Dr. Kabir Abdul Qadir, one of our callers challenged you to bear it all.
Yeah, I have done it. I've said to Mr. President.
All right.
I wrote a memo. I went and got the stakeholders, 12 pages. We sat down and said, okay, now look, this is our domain. We cannot make a chatterless come together again, either in the ministry or anywhere. This is how to go about it. We went to the memory line. Great reserves I was asked for even before independence, but why they fail? We told them why they fail. Nomadism is not only grass and water. It's more than that. You have to look at it holistically. From the owner, who is a Fulani man, the relationship between him and the animals, and why does he do it? They just very like my friend was saying about formerly they go around. No, some of them are running from Fulani. So they go like this, while it's a fly is here, they go like this, because they cannot, because that is a disease that is ravaging us. You get that? So what I'm saying is that they are supposed to be settled.
Right.
All this will not work. The more we grow, the more the problem will come back again. So what we are saying is that tilapia grass, they imported from Brazil, it is a Nigerian grass. That was taken to Brazil. Brazil add value to it. That's how we are bringing back again. It's very good. But what we are saying is that we can use these people. We have got about 15 million heads of cattle in Nigeria. It's enough to make a very big industries. Why did this man came? The president of Pig Milk, all from Holland to come and say our president. Because we did a small project around Enugu side, around Ogun, Oyo, you get upon side. We come and say, Wonko, why do you bring this milk all the way from Holland, dry milk, and mix it here and all this thing? Why can't you do it together with our own? They blended it. And do you know what they get? They were so surprised. Because the Fulani milk is the best. So what we are talking about now, we are talking about it holistically. This 6 million hectares, I'm telling the people, then with over 3 million hectares of the grazing reserves, we can settle this Fulani and make a cluster.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Well, we've just about run out of time, but we'll give the Minister this last question. A lot has been said about sustainability. Would you stick your neck out for this project under this administration?
Under this administration, I think we've learned a lot of lessons from the past administration. We don't intend to make those mistakes again. So repositioning the Great Green Wall as one of those programs that will help with addressing climate change is important. What we put at the front of it is that how do we empower people first? You take the climate action, you protect the environment. I do believe one of the things that you need to do is start with yourself. We just heard today that the use of firewood in urban centers is something that we can actually put a stop to while we address rural areas. And let me be frank, this year, Mai was the first one that's guilty. Minister of Environment, come Ramadan, we're cooking for a wider range of people. What do I use to make kose? Firewood.
Yeah, especially now that the price of cooking gas has gone.
No, but that's, I have to move because the gains of using LPG versus firewood are very clear. There are health gains to the staff that use it, also to the environment. And yes, maybe the food tastes different, but there are far more gains to it. So start with yourself. I think it's really important that all of us begin to ask ourselves about whether we are planting and sustaining trees. If we are using firewood, stop using firewood. But yes, I will stick my neck out to say that this program within this administration, by the grace of God, we will make a success of it.
All right, so at this point we'll have to leave it. And as I always say, no one program can take care of all the issues. So we hope we'll revisit this issue at some other point in time. But for now, we want to say A big thank you to Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cyril. Thank you, Nigerians.
And for Director General National Agency for the Great Green Wall, Goni Ahmed, we thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Newton Jibuno, it's always a delight to listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And Dr. Kabir Abdul Kadir, founder of Green Shield of Nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To all of you who've been part of this program, we say thank you. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.
The best amongst the rest in information, entertainment, the first breaking the news. We are Africa's largest network. Africa's largest network. Second to none. The first, the biggest, the best. NTA. Education, sports, authentic news, views. NTA, NTA. You can't beat the rich.
The reason it
Our programs are getting better and fresher. And it's because we are thinking about you. NTA, it's all about you.
God, I thank you. Hey, but come to think of it, it's already 3 p.m. And Oga is supposed to go and chat with them between 3 and 4 p.m. Hey, let Oga come. Waiting they delay Oga today, eh? This guy better don't come our way. Oga no won't come office, eh? Hey, wow. Hey,
Clara.
Oga, thank God you are here. Hey.
You are so happy. What is he happy?
Hey, I got something good. I can't go internet now. I go check the message. What when you get?
Yes.
Now go see this message for there. Oh. Hey, Oga, thank God say you come. Hypertension nearly take me.
Ah, Bego, no.
Okay. They say message to Samanja at now we get on party.
Correct.
Hey,
that big, Clara. So I don't go international with that.
So
everywhere from here to internationally, I will recognize that I'm the chairman. Now we get a party.
The message say we have carefully studied your profiles as a great politician and poultry farmer.
Correct.
We are interested in doing business with you.
Me too, I'm interested now. I bet link this quickly.
Our company, Tokoyo Fabrications, is based in Tokyo, Japan. Okay. Some of the equipment we fabricate includes poultry production equipment with a hatchery that can hatch as much as 1 million-day-old birds daily.
Now, wow, that's why at least, Clara, 1 million.
Okay, 1 million.
At least that one is better than this year portrait.
Exactly.
That one that they had, they reach 100. You see? I bet quick make her hear the
Okay, then they say with this one now, instead of 1 million, we're gonna get 2 million.
Hey, 2 million.
Okay.
I bet read this.